Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this young lady back. It's Kay Smythe, of course, news and commentary writer. You'll see her on Newsmax. I saw you with, can I ask you this? Is it Farish or Farash?
I say Farash, but
I
that's
think
how
it's Farish.
I mean, we both have
I think it's
ridiculous last
Farish.
names. Smythe, Farish, Farash. I
For
don't know.
those who watch or listen to my show, Sean, I thought it was Farish. I called him Farish in my interview with him. He's the guy that sounds exactly like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, his impersonation is incredibly spot on. I think those spots with you and Sean, however he pronounces his last name, and I'll ask him, I think those are great. I mean, really, honestly, just great fun. You two with Carl Higbie is just dynamite. Love having you back. Go to millionvoices.org if you want to go and see what she's working on now. It's Kay Smythe. Kay, how are you? Good to see you.
I feel I was having a really rough day, but after that introduction, I feel like magic. And that is
Boom.
a lot. That is a lot coming from you, Joe, because I think you're one of the only, when you go on Carl's show, I just stop, I take a beat, and I go, you know what? These two men are two of my closest friends in the whole world. Here they are on national television, having a conversation about how to make that world a better place. I can calm down. I can calm down.
Kay, don't tell anybody. Here's some inside baseball. Don't tell anybody. So they'll send me a list of topics, and every single time I come on, there's breaking news, and Carl and I just vamp for 10 minutes. And I think it comes off as a couple of dudes who care about the country, who care about our families, who care about those that we care about, and those watching every single time. Oh my God, that was great on Carl. And I think people think that we set it up and there's a script and there's all this stuff. It's not. Carl, like in my ear, there's breaking news, sir. Hopefully you can say through it. And then we come back and say, let me tell you what I think about that, Carl. And it's just honestly a couple of dudes who just want the betterment of everything around us. And I think it comes off like that, no?
It does. And you know what the best part of it all is? I have so many people that hit me up that watch you guys on Newsmax, that follow you both on social media, and they send me your tweets like all the time. And I love just being able to tell people, you two specifically, and I feel like I've met half of Hollywood and half of, the sort of like celebrity news media at this point. You two are literally the only two who are exactly the same on air as you are off. And that consistency, honestly, Joe, it's why I'm here. Everyone knows I absolutely hate working, and I will pretty much just only work for people that I respect and like. That's why I work for Jeffrey Ingersoll over the Daily Caller for as long as I did. That's why I work for John Graves at Million Voices. That's why I basically live here at the Joe Pag Show. I just want to live here, and that's why I do Carl's show. And that's pretty much it. That's like the perfect week. Are you joking? As an immigrant, this is like the American dream. Stop it.
I'm so glad that you're in the circle. It's Kay Smythe. Go to kaysmythe.com. And again, millionvoices.org. Okay, the Mutual Admiration Society aside, you're in North Carolina. I think many people who watch my show or listen to my show know that you're in North Carolina, although you don't quite have the North Carolina accent down. I know you're working on it, but you have a close-up in the state view. Like I'm here in Texas. If there's something national happening in Texas, I have more information because I'm in Texas. I can see it. I can hear it. I can talk to people who are other Texans. What are you hearing in North Carolina? Because some of the stuff we're getting on X is completely conspiratorial. Some may end up being true, but we're not getting the real scoop. What are you hearing from North Carolinians, your neighbors? And now I know that you're safe. You're far away from where the big damage happened, but what are you hearing there?
I want to go to a tweet that I read this weekend. And it was really simple, but I tell you what, Joe, I'm still thinking about it now. It's from a guy who we followed each other for forever. I don't even know why or how, this guy, Danny. And he's up in Asheville, and he's been there throughout this whole thing. And the tweet, all it said was, all of the men in town now have beards. And so I want you to realize that, like, the water started falling really heavily. Yeah, we had some storms and we did have some mild flooding before Friday, but it really hit on Friday. It's Monday. Joe, everyone's walking around with a beard. These men are walking around with beards already. That's the situation that we're in. It's, that apocalypse movie that you see where, years into the future, all the men have beards because, like, what is a razor? Like, all of the women have hairy legs and armpit hair, whatever, because what is a razor? Like, it's not some dystopian horror movie into the future. There's something that could, like, potentially happen maybe one day, but not in our lifetimes. Like, that one phrase, it could never happen in America.
No, I get
It'll
it.
never happen in our lifetimes. I just want everyone to just realize that that is no longer the case. That is not something that you can, that is not an
Right.
ignorance and a naivety that people can rely upon now. And I think for a lot of North Carolinians, this was a huge wake up call, not just for, you know, the power of the planet and what sort of, sorry, flies are getting in because I'm growing all my vegetables inside now because the weather started to turn.
Right.
Obviously.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah. But that's why I'm like waving my hand crazy for everyone watching the video. But no, but like it's been this sort of wake up call that the government's not going to come help you. In fact, I've heard more reports from people directly of the government not helping. It's really church groups because the government can't confiscate stuff from churches. So everyone and anyone listening, do not donate to FEMA. Your taxes already donate to FEMA. They mishandled them. The government mishandles the money that you give them every year in taxes. And that's why we've got bodies piling up in the mountains. That's why we've got people who will never be recovered from under these landslides. That's why we've got people in these little towns and hamlets who are stuck there, who cannot get out because the people who want to go in and get them are being stopped and no one else is coming.
Well, let's put this out there, and I appreciate the perspective. What we're getting from the national media and from this lie-filled administration is they've been there from day one. And, you know, the North Carolina governor said that Biden did a great job, and the Georgia governor said Biden did a great job. And the fact is they've done a horrific job. Mm-hmm. You said it right. Friday was when we can say the storm hit. It was Wednesday before the person who wants to be the next president showed up even at FEMA headquarters.
Yeah.
It was Thursday, 6 days later, before the actual guy who's the president did anything of any substance on this. So we're talking about almost an entire week that they ignored the area, and now they want us to believe that they didn't ignore the area. And they also want us to believe that FEMA did not spend $1.14 billion on illegal aliens, which, of course, they did. You know who the source is, Kay? This is weird. The source is FEMA. On the FEMA website, it says it did that in fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. Yet they're lying about it. So they're in spin mode to make it seem as though the people of North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, everybody who was affected, had day one, second one help from the feds. And you rightfully are reporting that's just not true.
Yeah, it's fundamentally untrue. Like, firstly, I will concede. The fact that the feds didn't bother to send in the military on day one kind of blows my mind because we're not talking about the kind of terrain that I actually trust a lot of people who like work for FEMA are used to dealing with. Like I was telling John, because my fiance, so he was on his bachelor party the weekend before. So he was up in Waynesville. He was up in Silver, like just beyond Asheville. The weekend before all of this hit. And he sort of said to me, you know, what would you have done if, you know, things had been different? And I'm like, well, the first people I call are my friends in the military.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, like I know that I can go out. I literally have all of the equipment sitting right behind me. Like I know that I can go out into the wilderness and I'll be fine for a few days because that's how I was raised. That's what I was trained to be able to do.
Yeah.
And have all of those, not just like the qualifications, but like way too much firsthand experience with that kind of thing. I mean, that's how I moved from California to North Carolina. Like we camped out most nights. Like I slept under this. That's what we do. That's what I do. But for most people who haven't basically spent their entire lives convinced that the government was going to mess everything up and the world was going to fall apart, which I do. Thank goodness my dad raised me that way, huh? But I really do want to stress how treacherous that terrain.
Yeah, but Kay, it's not like the military isn't there. There's military right there in North Carolina that they didn't call up. For 5 and 6 days. They didn't say go in. And again, as you said, there are some government workers, FEMA workers. I mean, there was a story over the weekend. I don't know the validity of it. Maybe it's true. That I know that the local sheriff said we will arrest you if you're from the federal government and you get in the way. But there were some reports that actually some FEMA people were arrested. So I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's not a concerted effort. And central government in Washington wants the world to think they were up for the challenge, and they weren't. They just weren't. They didn't do the small thing like, hey, military barracks right up the road. Let's get engaged. Go save people.
It's just disgusting because like it's not even that it's like just North Carolina, right? It was like a full 500-mile stretch of the country when now satellite, when I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the satellite images of that part of the
Yes.
country now, it's just like it's pretty much dark, Joe. Like I cannot comprehend the fact that Roy Cooper sat there on Twitter and said the federal government is doing something. Sorry, like Mark Robinson is literally up there using private funds.
Yes.
Like he's up there using private funds because he, as lieutenant governor, can't get his own state to state that we all pay taxes. Like I'm going to keep going off on a tangent and get really angry, and I don't think that's going to be helpful.
Let me stop you. It's Kay Smythe. Go to kaysmythe.com. Millionvoices.org is where she's working now. She's no longer the Daily Caller. Did great there. Now she's working on something that I think you're all going to like. Millionvoices.org. Mark Robinson, from I think the second day where he could find a camera, said, "Governor, let's put politics aside, man. Let's get up there. Let's go shoulder to shoulder. Let's go save people. Let's bring all the resources we can." And you're right. The governor is out there claiming that Biden's the next coming, while Robinson is going, I'm just trying to save people's lives. I don't know why there's such a dichotomy. I guess it's because of the election coming up. But between you and me, if we're as cynical as we possibly can be, Kamala Harris does better if she goes there day one. She does better in the poll. Forget that she cares about people, which I don't think she does. But politically speaking, the right thing to do would have been to get on Air Force Two and fly your ass there, or at least close to there, where you can at least say, look, I'm here for you, even if she wasn't. But, Kay, in what world does somebody who wants to be the next president stay away 5 days and continue to campaign in San Francisco, L.A., and Las Vegas? I don't understand.
I mean, isn't that like kind of the party trick, though, of all the globalists? Like my mind immediately goes to, there's not really that much difference between what's happening across Western North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida to what happened in Flint, Michigan. What about Lahaina? What about, the Ohio train derailment?
Yes.
Like, I mean, there are so many different examples of this where everyone just kind of sits back. I mean, Katrina, I'm sorry, but like George Bush and Hillary Clinton are basically the same person. Like, I think
at this point, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, like they are. And, I don't want to bring the tone down, but like growing up in Europe, we all had our suspicions about George Bush, like no offense. And I also heard a story about a speech his mother gave once at a school and may have mentioned that George was not the sharpest tool in the shed, but that was a secondhand story.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know that Barbara Bush was saying that, but no, I'm with you. You can almost not separate the politics from that era. You're right. How was George W. Bush different than Hillary Clinton would have been? Now, again, when 9/11 happened, we're like, great, we've got Bush. At least we don't have Al Gore. And for my money, in that moment, he did a very good job. Years later, it turns out he's this globalist guy that was a CIA guy's son. And the CIA guy used to be the president, too. And the things that they're saying or not saying are very, very loud. And they do speak to what you're saying. I don't know that there's much difference. And then you got Donald Trump, who's this other guy who's going, I just wanted to do the job really well. And they're going, no, that's not the job. Shut up. Get in line. Yeah. What are you talking about? It's Kay Smythe. Kay, is the local news saying anything? And I know this is way premature, and maybe they're not. Maybe it's a dumb question. Are they saying anything about how people in the most affected areas who are safe will have their voting franchise saved? Because I don't know that people in that area who are safe, I'm not talking about missing people, families, who are hurting. I mean, people who are like in shelter now somewhere, will they be able to vote in like 4 weeks or not?
So I'm actually trying to find out, and no one has given me a straight answer yet. Over
Is that a fair question or not?
It's a brilliant question. I think it's probably one of the most, it's definitely up there in the top 10 questions. I mean, it should be in like most people's top 5, I think, at this point. I mean, I wish that it could be up that high, but when you don't have your federal government coming to help you, things like voting, unfortunately, do get relegated. But I think that it has at least been expressed to me by a lot of the people that I'm speaking to up there. Again, no answers as of yet. But I do want to go back to your last question about Kamala Harris. Like, would it have made a difference if she had shown up, like even if it was just like the next day? Absolutely, it would have made a huge difference. I completely agree with you. I think that her showing up, showing face, so long as, she didn't go off script and embarrass herself like she normally does, I think it could have been great for her campaign. But she didn't do that, obviously, as we both know. But what we did see was her going on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which, like, no shame, Call Her Daddy. I'm a millennial girl. I haven't really listened to it, but every now and again I get the little gossip clips, and like I'll listen to gossip about people I don't even know. I'm a very typical girl in that regard. But the fact that our wannabe president decided that this was a good weekend to go and do that, like, that defines her as far as I'm concerned in her priorities. I think the fact that she's not focused on making sure that there is any kind of recovery kind of speaks to the importance that Kamala Harris is placing on the votes across the regions that were hit. I think that it is completely fair for people to think that this is, look, I don't believe in the whole weather manipulation thing. I don't. But I'm sorry, I distrust the government enough at this point to completely respect people who do believe in that. And also, we can manipulate the weather, but not like, we can't steer that much. Like, that's, we don't have that kind of power.
Right. No, I'm with you. What blows my mind is she went in some assembly line where they were putting deodorant and toothbrushes and toothpaste in bags, and she's standing next to a lady. This is how disconnected Kamala Harris is. I don't know if you've seen this video, but she's standing next to a lady, and Harris is like, so how are you finding things? And the lady literally looked at her and was complaining about how the government didn't provide them anything. And Harris was like, right, okay, right. Like she wasn't even listening. Mm-hmm. But my point about, you're right, she couldn't have done anything. She's not going to get on a backhoe and start digging people out. That's not going to happen. But you go there, you put on a FEMA jacket, you roll your sleeves up, and you're there day 1.5. You're there like the next day. And you're saying, I'm here, what do you need? And even if you have no intention of getting what they need, you at least need to do the proper PR to make it seem as though you care, even if you don't. Now, maybe she does care deep down, who knows? But I know this. Day one, Trump had Elon Musk sending Starlink. He had millions of dollars heading that way, and 18-wheelers were heading that way too. And now you've got the idiot governors in Georgia and North Carolina pretending Biden was great from day one. Kay, it makes my face hurt. Look at my face. This is pain. We're almost out of time. I got to go. It's Kay Smythe. Kay, give me 20 seconds on Milton. It looks like it's a 5 today as we're speaking.
It looks like it'll be downgraded before it hits the coast.
I hope so.
But at the same time, it's ruined my bachelorette trip this weekend.
That's the important part.
I don't really care at this point. Like, I think, I hate to say it, but like, I think I'm going to look back at some point in the future and go, I'm really glad that I stayed at home and planted potatoes in the rain instead of going and, getting day drunk with the girls, because I think long term, we have been dumbed down, Joe. We do not understand our relationship with the planet. So we need to pray. We need to pray for Florida. We need to pray for everyone in the track of Milton. Everyone needs to check the forecast. Don't do it daily. Do it every couple of hours. It's not going to kill you, but it could if you ignore it.
You're the best at Kay Smythe. Go to kaysmythe.com, millionvoices.org, and we're back after this. Stay right here.